Hey, you know what, Joel? I got to let you in on a little secret, and we all three of us know each other about 40 years. Heyman is such a weasel. He actually updates me on numbers and when I'm on the show because he knows that I'm a sick human being and I'm ultra competitive. And he tells me, "Oh, Russo just beat you out," knowing that I want to come back on and beat out Russo. This is what this guy does behind the scenes.
John, our friend, one of our most frequent guests, I think our most frequent guest by total number of times is appearing, is our pal Michael Kay. He joins us again this week, especially to talk the Yankees.
Always fun to talk to Michael, most frequent, one of the two most popular, along with the Mad Dog. So great to have him back starting the new year. It's great to have you back. We missed you. I did a couple without you, wasn't the same. And we're going to be off to a great start this year talking Yankees with him. And certainly there's a lot to talk about with the Mets as well.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the two New York teams because we have a lot of catching up to do. We'll try to put in focus what they've done, what they still might do. We'll play hit and error at the end. If you stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. John, first of all, I want to open by saying thank you. You carried the show for a bunch of weeks while I wasn't around, so I really appreciate that. You had great guests. You did great show. I listened to all your shows. I would argue that they were probably better than when you were, but thanks so much for
Not
doing
true.
it.
My pleasure.
It's really given us a lot of runway. We have, because we haven't discussed this in this forum on especially the Mets and Yankees. Why don't we open with the Mets? It's a point you made as we were coming on. They just have a lot to do still at this date. I think that David Stearns would probably argue that they have a lot to do. I think he's counting on better defense, that Brett Beatty's good and will get better, that Francisco Alvarez was really the second half Francisco Alvarez, that they won't have quite the pitching injury stuff they had. They'll have McLean all year. I think they've got a lot to do. I think they will do multiple things in the next several weeks. John, take it wherever you want on that team.
Yeah, I mean, they were an 83-win team, and they were a lot worse than that over the last 4 months. And they've lost Diaz and Alonso, and certainly in the short term, those are big negatives. So I think they still have a lot of work to do. Fortunately for them, there are a ton of great players still available, mostly pitchers, which is really what they need most. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to replace Alonso. I mean, it's good that they're trying for Bellinger. I mean, I still think he'll probably go back to the Yankees, where he's a great fit, 29 home runs there. And just felt like a Yankee. But you never know in free agency. I don't think most people expected Soto to go to the Mets when they had somewhat similar offers. So you never know, but it feels like they need to make it up in the pitching, and there are a ton of great pitchers left, right? I mean, we've got maybe Skubal's left. You've got certainly Peralta likely could go somewhere. Cabrera. There are a ton of players left on free agency, particularly the pitchers. Suarez, Gallen, Valdez, if they want to go there. I mean, Valdez is an elite pitcher. There are a ton of guys out there. They have the wherewithal to do it. There aren't a ton of teams trying still, it seems. And they certainly have the prospects to make the trades. I mean, I'm writing a column that's just appeared on the Post website and in the Post tomorrow about what they should do. Where do you think they should go? I mean, to me, they can build a good pitching staff. I'm not sure they're going to be able to replicate the lineup they had because there's no Alonso left to get.
Yeah, I'm a big Ranger Suarez fan, John. I know he could pitch against the best teams. I know he could pitch in the NL East. I think that the Mets are loath, especially to give, like, I just wonder, out of guys like Suarez and Valdez and guys who are still left who we think are good, are they still out there because they cannot find that 5, 6, 7 year market that maybe they were hoping for, and they need to do something maybe not exactly like Imai did, but like, shorter, with the ability to opt out multiple years, like 3 years, and you could opt out all the years. And would the Mets be allergic to that? Because if the pitcher is good, they opt out and they also lose a draft pick, right? Like Suarez and Valdez are both qualified offer guys. I think at this point, the Mets have built up their farm system enough to not worry about the second pick in the 2027 draft and to just go ahead and put the best team they think they could on the field next year, even if it cost them that. And so if they like Valdez or they like Suarez, and I personally like Suarez, I would just do that if they were willing to do, because clearly Stearns has shown with that kind of pitcher, he'll do three at maybe a high AAV. Can you do three at a high AAV with one of those guys? Or will those guys, John, you always know the market, great, certainly better than me. Do you think those guys still end up with the 5, 6, 7 year deal, or that they're going to have to do something that's more imaginative, shorter with a high AV?
Yeah, I mean, there are, like I said, there are a lot of good pitchers left, but there's enough need, in my opinion, that Valdez certainly should. I mean, look at his track record. I know that we both kind of like Suarez, but looking at Valdez's track record, I know the comps for them were Fried and Burns, right? And they got 8 and 6 years. So, I mean, I think Valdez. I think he still gets 6. I never thought Suarez would get more than 5, probably. Uh, but I still think he does. I mean, Suarez is a 1.46 ERA in the postseason, which is better than everybody except for Rivera and Strasburg. So, I mean, I can't imagine he's going to struggle. It feels like, there's a number of stars left. I feel like the pitchers will do okay. I think Bregman will do well. It is a mystery what's going on with Tucker and Bichette, who are terrific, terrific. And Bichette's only 27 years old. Tucker also only 28 years old. These are great players, and it is interesting to see that go on. But of course, we did see Machado, and we did see Harper, and we have seen guys sign even in February. So, but it is interesting. I do think those two pitchers will get the length, and I'm with you. I like Suarez. I think there are other good pitchers left. I like Giolito, who doesn't have the qualifying offer. I like Gallen, a New Jersey guy. I think you like him as well.
I do.
They got a lot of potentials there, and the trades, they're going to be tough. I mean, look, the Yankees have been trying to get Cabrera. I think the Marlins, and I know names are out there. People have talked about Hess and Dillon. I think they asked for Lombard, the Miami guy. Why not, right? I mean, the price of pitching is huge, and if you can get a guy who's not going to get a 6-year deal, he's got multiple years to go under control. You've got to ask for a ton. We saw what Shane Baz got, right? So it's not easy to make these trades. And that's why ultimately I think they're going to have to sign one of these free agents, whether that's, and to me, Valdez might be too many years for their taste. I don't know, but whether it's Valdez, Suarez, or Gallen, Giolito, whomever, they're going to have to go there, I think.
Yeah, I'm a big Gallen guy, John. I think he's could be a high-end innings eater. Like if you told me the Mets, I would do double. I would figure out how to sign Gallen, and I would trade for like Peralta and feel like that gives them some maybe maneuverability to trade a starting pitcher or two
And
for
they
a
have
bat.
prospects, right? And they have
Yes.
prospects to make
Yes.
these kind of trades, right? I mean, they know Peralta from Milwaukee. He's not going to be what Skubal's going to be. I mean, he's going to cost. I don't think McLean, but I probably
Can I
then.
ask this on Scooble? So, like to me, I'm talking to you from MLB Network. I just did the Hot Stove Show, and we talked about Scooble because, we'll find out no later than Thursday at least what he's asking for an arbitration. They'll either settle or we'll have actual numbers for him. And he's like, him or Randy Rosarena are going to get the most money in this cycle. I would think it's going to be Scooble. And the guy said, like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm generally a follow the money guy. And the Tigers have built this offseason. They've added, Kenley Jansen, Finnegan, Drew Anderson. They qualified Torres and kept them. Flaherty opted in and they kept them. Like they're behaving like a team that's trying to win in 2026. And whenever I've talked to anyone in or around them or that's talked to them, they're going to try to win and they'll reassess in July if they're not. I kind of think, and again, like who knows, your phone could blow up in 30 seconds and suddenly the team that wasn't going to do something for Scooble is. But I think the Tigers have behaved like a team trying to win, which to me means keeping Scooble, which means like that's why the price on Cabrera is going to be huge, or the price on Peralta, even though he's a free agent at the end of the 2026 season. Let me like
Let me
flip it
just say,
around.
if Shane Baz got what he got, they could get a ton for Skubal. And I know
Right.
it's rival guys who probably want to see him traded and want a chance at him. They are listening to offers. I don't think
Right.
other than kind of signal, generally what it would take. I don't think they've really countered and said we'll do it for exactly this, but they are listening. And it's a tough call, right? I mean, the Angels held on to Ohtani twice. They were both mistakes. Boston traded Betts with a year ago. That was an even bigger mistake, probably, right? So it's difficult to decide. But I mean, I'm with you in terms of the Tigers, and likely they keep him. And they made the playoffs twice the last 2 years with him. They were 500 team when he didn't pitch. They were won 2/3 of the games when he did pitch. And it was certainly a big hit if they did trade him. But I'm not ruling it out at this point. I mean, they are listening.
John, the one other thing I would offer on the Mets, and then we'll flip over to the Yankees a little bit, is of both New York teams, to me, the mistake of the offseason so far was Edwin Diaz. Like to me, if the Dodgers and you were both offering 3 years and you have Steve Cohn on your side, don't get outbid for the guy you want and has proven he could play in your place, and then give 3 years of pretty good money to Devin Williams, who I'm not quite sure about. Like I don't want to play the underlying numbers game. Like, oh, the underlying numbers, he was better. Like, he actually played on the field last year. It wasn't good enough. And I know that Stearns knows him well from Milwaukee. Bring him in. I wouldn't do that. The reason I bring it up is if Kyle Tucker is really going to do a short contract with a high AAV, and we're only talking about the Dodgers, shouldn't the Mets say, well, this is the advantage of having Steve Cohn. Why should it be the Dodgers? Like, if this guy's really willing to do 3 or 4 years with opt-outs at a big number, why shouldn't now you could tell me the allure of the Dodgers means the Mets would have to spend so much more to do it, or did the Mets become an unappealing place, which I've heard a little bit how things went last year on and off the field, that the premium wouldn't just be X plus, it would be X plus plus to do something like that. But to me, if it's like, hey, you just have to outbid the Dodgers on the short deal with a high AV, then go do that.
Right. I think one of the negatives to doing these, analytic, smart things right now, the team does not look to most people like a great team, and they have made themselves probably less appealing to free agents. And, this may be an issue with Bellinger, with Tucker potentially. To me, Bellinger is Tucker's the better player. He's the number one player on the market. There's no question about that. Bichette is an absolutely fantastic player, Bregman, and Bregman's going to do great because he has that Schwarber clubhouse thing going, right? But to me, Tucker doesn't really fit the Mets. He is left-handed, as is Bellinger. He is a right fielder. Certainly, he could play left field. But to me, Bellinger's the guy who fits because he can play center. Right now, Mets have a question at center. He can play first. Right now, the Mets have a question at first. And he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be half the money, but he's certainly going to be less money. And even with Steve Cohn, you can't just go crazy and spend hundreds of millions of dollars willy-nilly. So, I think Tucker is the number one free agent. I think he's the best player. You certainly have to consider it. To me, Bellinger is the better fit for the Mets.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I happen to love Bellinger as a player. I'm not sure I feel the same way about Tucker, who I know is obviously highly skilled. There's a Jacoby Ellsbury vibe I feel off of Tucker that I don't love. He's a better player and a more accomplished player than Ellsbury was, but there's been some injuries the last few years. I don't know what his passion is for the game long term, etc. He's a great player. And if you could get him on a short deal, that makes it all the better. It makes it easier if he's playing left and Soto's playing right to either play a kid, Benj in center, or play the defender, Taylor in center, and do it that way.
You hinted at this, but I'll agree with what you said previously. They're not going to be able to get him on a short deal. I don't see that.
I agree with you.
He'll go to the Dodgers, right? And the Dodgers like him enough that they would give him.
I agree with you, John. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's before we kind of kill too much time here, let's flip over to the Yankees. Our guest is going to be Michael Kane a little bit. We're certainly going to talk a lot about the Yankees since he's the lead broadcaster at Yes. But their offseason so far has been putting the band back together. They qualified, offered, and kept Grisham, Paul Blackburn, Ryan Yarbrough, Ahmad Rosario. Those players they had last year. And they'd like the key to their offseason is if they could bring back one more. They love Cody Bellinger. They clearly have made multiple offers now to try to keep him. Is this DJ LeMahieu again, where they dance all off season, but they really know they're going to end up back with each other? Or can he go someplace else?
Well, I think he can go somewhere else. I do think the Dodgers do like him. I understand they let him go at one point, but I think they admire the way he bounced back and really remade himself as a player. And certainly the Dodgers are a very attractive team, and he enjoyed being there. He was an MVP there at one point. He had an interesting career. I do think he'll have options. I do think the Yankees have got to be considered the favorite. It worked so well last year. He's only said he wants to play for a winner, which at this point, if you look at the teams on paper, I think long term the Mets are going to be a winner due to a number of factors. I think Stearns is very smart. Obviously, Cohn wants to win. He's got money. But if you look at the teams right now, it's hard to sell yourself. And he doesn't have, it's not his mother's choice. He doesn't have 9 uncles running it. I don't see it being a Soto situation. We never know what happens in free agency, but I think ultimately they get him back. That said, and I think they're in pretty good position, right? I think that their team looks pretty good. They come in with 4 good pitchers. Schlittler looks fantastic. Fried's one of the best pitchers in the game. Heel and Warren are solid. And I think, they've got guys coming. I still think you got to do something, and not just for the fans. You got to do something to bulk up the pitching a bit. I mean, their bullpen was not good last year. It wasn't good. And then they've lost 2 very talented guys in Williams and Weaver. So I still think even if they get Bellinger, they need to do something. And there's diminishing options in terms of the bullpen. There are a few guys left who are pretty good. And maybe you mentioned Trevor McGill, right? His brother, right, is potentially available. Somebody like that they could trade for. But I think they got to do something beyond even Bellinger.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, John, I recognize there could be too many guests at the inn on July 1st or June 1st with, if they get Rodon and Cole back, and especially if they then get Schmidt back in the second half, as they hope. These guys all had elbow procedures of some sort or another, and they think they're going to get them all back. But you're the Yankees. I just wouldn't base on that. Luis Gil's hurt every year. Fried, Schlittler, and Warren all pitched more innings than they ever have in their professional lives last year. I would get another starter and then worry about the thing. If you think you have too much starting pitching, you don't. Like even the Dodgers all last year kind of struggled until the end, right? And by the way, I think this is what I think the Yankees are following the Dodger path. I think Garrett Cole could probably pitch in April. He could probably pitch in early May. The Yankees want to play games through October, so they're going to slow play him like the Dodgers did with Ohtani at the beginning of last year. Like Ohtani, they were thinking about using Ohtani in the World Series the year before out of the bullpen in 2024 against the Yankees. So clearly he could have pitched at the beginning of the 2025 season. They slow played it because they knew they were good enough to get to the postseason and wanted it. They slow played Snell out of his injury. They slow played Glasnow out of his injury. I think the Yankees are going to slow play Rodon and they're going to slow play Cole because those are especially Cole, but Rodon's a really good pitcher. They want them available for the games that mean the most if they get there. But you got to get there, and I would get one more pitcher to feel better about getting there.
Yeah.
For one other reason, because you highlighted the other reason. I thought you were on it early, and I think it's an important theme. The AL East is bulking up.
Yeah,
and so you got to make sure you get in to the darn party. And I think that they need one more pitcher, starter.
Yeah, to me, I know the odds makers may say something different, but to me, Toronto looks like the best team on paper. To add Cease, to add Akamoto, to add Pawns, all these guys that they have added. They added Tyler Rogers from the Mets, who was really good last year with the Mets and in San Francisco. To me, Toronto's the favorite. They beat up on the Yankees pretty good last year in the regular season and in the postseason. So I think the Yankees still have work to do. They're in better shape than the Mets. They come in, they have 11 more wins, right? And they did knock off the Red Sox in the playoffs. And they've got guys coming back from injury. They're in much better shape, but they still need to do some things.
No about that, John. Why don't we wrap up this segment by let's play out the things, which is let's give them Bellinger. Let's assume that sometime in January, I'm going to assume because I have such faith in you, you break that Cody Bellinger is re-signing with you like the pressure, John, re-signing with the Yankees. Give me the like, what would be the absolute other move you would make?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about the guys that we like, right? I think Suarez is probably unlikely for the Yankees at this point. They're probably not going for the big fly in terms of the starting pitching. But we like Gallen. I like Giolito. I like some of these guys. Uh, I think they can add a pitcher. They might make the trade for Cabrera. I mean, it looked better a couple days ago than it does as we're doing this. We'll see. Maybe he'll be traded to the Yankees, but it doesn't seem as we're doing this that it's particularly close. But they are working on it, and I have faith that they will do something more and not bring back the very team that they had. And if they are concerned about the payroll, and they do seem to be, maybe it will be via trade. And they do have guys that they can trade. So whether Cabrera, Gore, Peralta, whomever, Skubal might be a stretch for them. The Mets have a longer list of prospects, I think. You never know. But I do believe they'll come up with a pitcher, one of those guys that we talked about.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they're going to end up with a starter and a bullpen guy before it's all said and done. But that might be a numbers game, because also if you're fully stocked in the rotation and you have Yarborough and Blackburn in your bullpen besides your traditional bullpen guys, I don't know how much you could keep adding, but I think they need a lefty reliever. I don't think that Tim Hill is enough. And I know the Yankee theory is always our righties get out lefties. Go talk to a lefty hitter about the righty who could get out a lefty. It's the lefty who could get out a lefty that they really worry about. And so I think they'll do that. Look, we're going to go much deeper on the Yankees and other stuff, because joining us is our pal and frequent guest, Mike Kay, if you stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. John and I are so thrilled to have our most frequent guest, Michael Kay, and our friends, of course, the host of the Michael Kay Show, the lead broadcaster for the Yankees, one of the most important voices in New York. Mike, thanks as always for joining us on the show.
Do I get some name recognition, since I'm the most frequent guest?
The show with Jon Heyman, Joel Sherman, and Michael Kay.
I love it. Yeah, let's do that.
You gave me top billing for the first time. Thanks.
Yes, once I put K in, I'm willing to be the sandwich. I'm willing to be in the middle. Mike, I mentioned you as I've been thinking about what is like the first question I want to ask Michael Kay. And it's a little bit about the fact that you are one of the most important voices in New York, and you hear the fans all the time on the subject of baseball in specific, and I would think the Yankees notably. And I have a question. Are we, like the public writ large, are we stupid, or do we just play stupid on like the internet and TV? Like, is there a value to being stupid? In other words, like we're midway through the movie. Like we don't know what's happening at the end of Shawshank Redemption. What's actually is the twist at the end. And people are like, David Stearns is an idiot. Brian Cashman is an idiot, as if these guys who are accomplished executives are just, I'm not here. They might have bad winters, but we don't even know what the full winter is yet. Spring training's still a month away. The season is more than 2 months away. Can we at least not wait to find out if Andy Friends gets out of Shawshank?
Well, it's funny, Joel, because I mean, it becomes a broader question about society. Are we what social media indicates that we are? Or is that just a subsection of people with Cheeto dust on their fingers? If we are that, then we've got some issues. And I think it leans toward maybe that we are that. I think that in this day and age, people have a megaphone and they can say whatever comes into their mind. I'm sure people felt like this about George Weiss of the Yankees back in the 50s and Ralph Houck back in the 70s. I don't like what he's doing. How could he have traded this guy? Listen, it is what it is. Yankee fans are furious right now. They keep saying they're not doing anything. And I keep saying on the radio, they don't have to do anything yet. Nobody's done anything. 20 of the top 50 free agents haven't signed. The top 4 or 5 haven't signed. So why are you putting this artificial deadline? Because you want to get excited. We'll see. I think it's more fair to judge that when we get to spring training in Tampa and Port St. Lucie, what the teams are. And then you could say whether or not they failed. An interesting stat. I did the Hot Stove show with Jack Curry yesterday. Everybody's saying the Yankees have been passed by the Blue Jays, have been passed by the Orioles, Red Sox, Tampa Bay making moves. Do you know that the Yankees are still the second favorite team in Major League Baseball, according to all the odds, to win the World Series? The Dodgers are first, the Yankees are second, and the Yankees are projected to win 93.5 games. So, I mean, that's what the guys who run the team operate on. How many wins do we need to get into the playoffs?
I want to say, Mike, first of all, you're not only our most frequent guest, you are our most popular guest. Looking at the numbers, you and Mad Dog are tied at the top. So we better have a good start here to this new year because I know you'd like to be number one, not 1A. So we'll
Yeah,
get.
I like Christopher, but I mean, I've got to win.
Yeah, I know you. Do I know you? Yeah, you're like me, only on, doubled. Yeah, I saw your hot stove show. You and Jack did a terrific job and had a nice interview with Aaron Boone as well. I think that 93.5 projection kind of counts the fact that we expect the Yankees to do something more, right? We don't expect them to do nothing. What are you expecting them to do? Do you think it's Bellinger and that's it? Or are they going to get a pitcher? What are they going to do?
Well, I believe, and this is just personal. I have not spoke to Brian Cashman or anybody within the Yankee organization. I believe that they're trying to get Bellinger. And I believe that there's a time and a year frame that they would tap out. I think that's really true. I think they'd like to get a pitcher, but they're not desperate about it. They felt, listen, Yarbrough gave us 8 starts last year. The way it plays out before Rodon comes back on May 1st. That would be maybe 4 starts that Yarbrough would have to give. Then you also have to factor in the fact that Garrett Cole is probably not going to get back till June 1st. And I was a little surprised by that because he had the brace surgery, and that was in March. I thought he'd get back closer to the front of the year. But, he's an older pitcher, and they want to make sure he's right. There's a lot of starts to fill. And another thing, and Dan Martin, Greg Joyce wrote it today in the Post. The guys that are coming back, Max Fried and Cam Schlittler and Will Warren, they pitched like career high innings. So you got to watch out for them as well. It's a big concern, I think, when you put this team together, but I don't think they're going to empty their farm system to get a guy like Edward Cabrera. And if you're the Marlins, the guy's got 3 years left on his, before he becomes a free agent. You're going to ask for a lot. Look what the Orioles paid when they picked up a pitcher. So I think the Yankees would be very content to go with Bellinger and then they'll run it back, so to speak. It's pretty much the same team.
Yeah, Mike, I quite frankly would be surprised if they still don't do multiple things between now and the start of spring training.
But let me stop you for a second, Joel. I think that in a perfect world they would, but don't you believe that the stated intent of Hal in a perfect world to be under 300, they can't do multiple things unless you trade salary off your roster, and the only guys you could do that with are McMahon and Chisholm. You can't trade Stanton. You can't trade Grisham. So how are they going to do that unless they go over 304?
Yeah, I know, Mike, at the beginning of the offseason, I was writing that their intent was to go under 300 million. And again, as part of that world, like people were saying, that's crazy. I think that Hal often talks about going over under 300 and then goes over it because of the exerted pressures and the desire to kind of keep up with the Joneses and the Blue Jays and the Orioles and the Red Sox. So I expect it will go over. I would point out that I think that this was an offseason. If we were sitting in those meetings with the Yankees, I wonder if they were saying this is going to be a slow moving market. There's nobody who's going to go early who fits into our price range and needs. Let's see where the prices actually go. And the offseason, it reminds me of, Mike, is and again, this was when there was a stupid chorus. The Yankees are doing nothing. They all suck. Hal's cheap. Cashman's whatever. Was 2020, 21. DJ LeMahieu played the part of Cody Bellinger, the guy they wanted back and kind of wanted back. They signed him in the 3rd week of July. In the same week, they signed Corey Kluber and traded for Jameson Taillon. And that was, deep into January and before spring training. I'm not here to defend them. They might botch all this and end up with no one, but we're just not to the end of the story yet.
All right, I agree. And, you try to calm people down. And I understand people are anxious. That's what being a fan is all about. The Yankees have not won a World Series since 2009. So they're really itchy to get it. And they're saying, well, last year's team wasn't good enough. Why are you running it back? But they had the most wins in the American League, tied with the Blue Jays. The one problem they had was they didn't match up well with the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays slapped them around during the season, and they slapped them around in the playoffs. So do you build a team just to beat one team? I'm not sure about that, but I do remember, I think you guys know this as well. In the week or two leading up to the postseason last year, I'd never seen in his 8 years as manager Aaron Boone more confident about a team that could win a championship. He thought that he had every part that he needed on the bench. He had maneuverability. He had moves that he could make. He loved that team, loved it. So although they didn't do what they needed to do, does he love it any less? Does Cashman love it any less? I don't know.
I'm going to take the opposite side of my esteemed co-host here and suggest, isn't it? And we all like Hal, very nice guy, and I think he treats the employees well. There are a lot of positives about him, but to me, from our conference call, he's too focused on the bottom line. They haven't won since 2009, so I get that. Complaint from fans that they should be out there and be aggressive, and maybe they will be. There is time, and I do think they have a decent chance to bring Bellinger back. But again, that's running it back. And well, we all like Aaron Boone. He was wrong about this team being good enough. They gave up 1 run an inning in that series against Toronto. They weren't close to beating Toronto. They didn't beat Toronto in the regular season, and they didn't come close to beating them in the playoffs. So, what makes us think that this team is going to be good enough? And in my mind, whether at 300 or 320, they can afford it. The team is up 1,000 times from when he bought it. They paid $10 million. It's worth $10 billion. And I'm being conservative, right? The Lakers just sold for $10 billion plus. Aren't the Yankees more valuable? Why worry about this? Is pennies we're talking about here? No.
Well, I think it's very complicated. I'm loath to call a guy who spends $300 million last year, even more, 320 cheap, because the bottom line is, how much do you need to win? I think the Yankees have not allocated that money as well as they could. I mean, look at the money they were paying out last year to DJ LeMahieu and Aaron Hicks and things like that. And you had $36 million on that payroll that belonged to Cole, and he didn't throw 1 inning for them. So I think that $300 million, if allocated the right way, should be able to get it done. It's also complicated, John, and you're the one who asked the question on the Zoom call that made all the news. They don't own all the team. They have a lot of partners as well. I mean, there's a lot of people that they have to answer to, and he's not like Steve Cohen, and he's not like the Guggenheim partners. This is his business. This is what they do for a living. Steve Cohen has reached into his pocket and lost $350 million over the last couple of years. That's out of his pocket. I don't think Hal can do that. So you got to make it. I don't think. If he didn't want to win, here's the argument I always have. If he didn't want to win and all he wanted to do was be competitive, then why not have a payroll of 250 and pocket another 70 million? Why not do it? But I think he desperately wants to win, but within reason. I think the market has gotten away from him. And I think another factor, maybe you and Joel could speak to this, I think the upcoming labor unrest is looming. It really is. I think it's a factor. And he's on the committee, and Hal knows exactly what they're going to ask for and the likelihood of it going down with a lockout. So maybe they don't want to put a lot of long-term contracts on the books, because if there is a cap, what are you going to have to do? Are these guys going to be grandfathered in? Are you going to have to get rid of people? Again, I'm just spitballing here, but I think that does play a role.
Yeah, look, Mike, I think it's way over 70 million, because it's not just 70 million. They would save between 320 and 250. They spent 60 million in tax on the 320. And again, I'm not here to defend Hal Steinbrenner either. Spend more. I like covering stars, but they have certainly brought in a lot of stars. They always, until maybe this year with the Blue Jays, have the highest payroll in their division, which is job one to win it. And I would dare say every team has dead money on their books. The Mets certainly had a lot more than even the Yankees last year. So everyone team has its Hicks and LeMahieu. Nobody does this perfect if you're playing at the highest level. John mentioned before, Aaron Boone was on your show last night. Is he a Supreme Court justice, or does he have to win a World Series this year, or at least get back there to keep his job, you think?
Well, he got 2 years left on his deal. So I guess if he's not successful this year, I guess they can let him go with a year left. The old saying is, Hal doesn't want to pay you for not working. But I will put it this way. Everybody goes, he hasn't been successful in his 8 years. And that's under the rules of George Steinbrenner, where success was measured by winning a championship. Now, I actually brought that up to somebody with the Yankees, and they said, Since George Steinbrenner passed, not any person in the front office has said that. World Series or bust. We want to win a World Series, but nobody says it's a failure. The only ones who say it's a failure are Derek Jeter and Aaron Judge. Nobody from the front office. So if that was, in fact, the marching orders, World Series or bust, then Aaron Boone has not done his job and he would be let go, right? But if getting to the playoffs and having a chance to win every single year, if that's considered success, then he's been successful. He is also, you guys know this, you deal with him a lot. He's a terrific guy. He's a good face of the organization. He handles the media, for the most part, extremely well. Every now and then, he'll get snippy, and I can understand that. He talks 2 times a day, 162 days a year, and sometimes you're going to get tired of all the questions. He's the keeper of the Yankee information, and I think he doles it out the way the front office wants. So if the front office actually thinks success is being competitive, having a chance every year to win the World Series, then he's been successful. And I would tell you this, Joel, if they thought it was World Series or bust, he would have been fired 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. The face of the franchise is a huge part of that job, and he is outstanding at that. And I think that's certainly helped him. He's also won a lot of games in the regular season, so I get that. I'm gonna get in the weeds a little bit here. Was it a mistake given that qualifying offer to Trent Grisham, and could that prevent Bellinger from really being brought back? I mean, to me, it looked to me, and I don't know. You hear whispers that they felt that he would decline it and they'd get the draft choice. It feels like I mean, obviously they had both guys last year, but they've got Spencer Jones coming. They hope certainly that Dominguez will be able to play more games. I mean, was this a mistake to bring Grisham back at 4 times the salary that he made last year? I mean, he certainly hit a lot of home runs, more home runs than any center fielder, but in the game. But I mean, he's a 218 career hitter. His defense has gone backward. Did they gamble and lose on this?
Well, the day that they made the offer, John, I was on my radio show and I was absolutely aghast because I think he's a good player. And I said that once they offered him the $22 million, he was going to take it. He's not dumb. He's a smart guy. He was not getting $22 million on the market, and there might not be a 2027. So why worry about a multi-year contract? If the Yankees loved him so much, I almost guarantee you, John, that if they offered him $36 million for 3 years, he would have taken it. That would have been an average annual value of $12 million. You're paying Neiman Marcus prices for a guy who's not a Neiman Marcus player. And I thought it was a huge mistake. And if they are, in fact, committed to staying under 304, you just killed yourself. You took away so much maneuverability, and it might cost you Bellinger, again, if you're committed to staying under the 304. But if they loosen up on that, then, I love when people go, well, there's no such thing as a bad one-year contract. I think that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you gave Ahmed Rosario, who's a good player, $30 million for 1 year, that'd be a bad one-year contract. And I think that Grisham is a terrific power hitter for 1 year, and he was great last year. As you said, his metrics defensively went down, but he did have a hamstring issue, so you wonder if it was that. But once you tied into that $22 million, and here's the one thing that bothers me the most. They thought he was going to turn it down, and they'd get a draft pick. Oh, wow. That draft pick that they would get between the first and second round is worth $22 million gamble. I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Mike, as a multi-time payor in the system, it wasn't between the first and second round. It would have been between the 4th and 5th round.
Thank you.
That's that draft pick was worth even less.
Yeah.
Than going for it. Mike, I'm going to share this with you and our listeners. I'm thinking about writing about it, so I'm pre-doing this. And I have not talked to anyone at the Yankees about this, but I wonder if strategically they're thinking at all that they did a form of free agency at the trade deadline. Bednar, Caballero, and the third baseman McMahon are all guys, and Duvall are all guys they are controlling from July forward, at least through this year. Plus, because of Rodon and especially Cole, they think they're getting them back, but what are they getting back? So is it possible that they feel like they did a lot of free agency in July in the trade market, and they want to see what Rodon and Cole look like? Because if they're really good, then they'll do another form of free agency in July again with the trades.
I don't hate the thought. And I think that, Brian, who usually does great work at the trade deadline, I thought he was terrific last year. I think that team really improved exponentially. Their bullpen was a big question mark. Bednar straightened them out. And, you also didn't even mention Bird, who was sent down to the minor leagues and we never saw him again. But they feel that he straightened out and he could be in the bullpen again. I think they like their bullpen. McMahon is a terrific defender. I don't know if he's going to hit enough, but the other guys really did straighten things out on the bench, made it more even-handed where, they could platoon and Boone had some moves to make. That's Rosario and Caballero. So, yeah, maybe they're waiting to see. And John mentioned the fact that, they'd given up a run-in inning to the Blue Jays in that playoff series. And, John, the one thing I would say, the reason they gave up a run-in inning is because Fried and Rodon laid eggs. And I don't care how great a team is. If those two guys are going to lay eggs in the postseason, you're going to lose. You could have a $400 million payroll. And if your best pitchers are not going to pitch well in games that they have to win, it's going to throw everything out of proportion. So, Billy Beane's like that, Joel. You know that. He wants to see what he has in the first third, second third. He evaluates more, and then he makes a trade. So maybe the Yankees could be doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike, on Cashman being a great deadline trader. I got one. I think it's pie in the sky, but I see the fans talking about it, and I think the Yankees have checked in. If they don't get Bellinger, and of course, we're talking about the concern about the bottom line here. Is Tucker, is that a real possibility? To me, they already have the best right fielder in baseball. Now, Tucker could certainly play left field, or I don't know. I don't think they'd move Judge to center, but certainly they could find room for him. I mean, what do you think the chances of this actually happening?
Well, I think the only way you're going to get Tucker, John, and when we hear about the Dodgers possibly getting Tucker, is a high average annual value, a shorter term deal with opt-outs. So let's say you give them $135 million for 3 years with opt-outs. Do the Yankees want to add $45 million a year average annual value to their payroll? I think that's the big question. It is amazing to me, though. This guy was so highly thought of when he was at the Astros. And then he goes to the Cubs in an injury-plagued year where he still was a plus WAR player. He doesn't have the same love on the market. And, I wonder what his market is. I wonder what Bellinger's market is. I really do. I mean, until I think that Scott Boras is waiting to see what Tucker gets before he really moves on Bellinger. And I don't think Tucker's close to signing. I might be wrong. So if I'm the Yankees, I'd be interested in him. But I know the Yankees are concerned. They don't want to be too left-handed. We'll see.
Mike, as a way of wrapping up, and we always appreciate you, really, truly appreciate you joining the show. Want to give some thoughts to where you think the Mets are, who've also have done a ton this offseason. They kept adding to their Yankee alumni picture with Luke Weaver and Devin Williams, but it hasn't been a lot more than that. And obviously, they let go of very popular longtime Mets, notably Pete Alonso. Where do you think they are as 2026 begins?
Well, I mean, the Pete Alonso thing, it surprised me last year when they signed him. And I thought that was driven by Steve Cohen. And, Met fans right now look at David Stearns as the Antichrist. Well, I would look at it this way. He didn't get dumb in a couple of years. He's always been a really smart guy. And I think he has strategically planned this out. And obviously, you guys are in there. I'm not. I'm in there maybe 6 times a year when they play the Yankees. That clubhouse is broken. Now, I don't know if it was broken because of Nimmo or McNeil or Alonso, but he's trying to fix that clubhouse while fixing the team as well. The moves he's made so far, curious, but as you said at the start of this, still not done. I think he's got some things up his sleeve. And, this guy is such an analytically driven guy. He probably looks at it and goes, do I have a team that can win 88 games? And if I have a team that can win 88 games, I'm going to go to the postseason. Maybe he's looking at it that way. The one thing that I don't understand about what he's doing, it'd be like if Steve Kerr told Steph Curry, listen, I'm going to play you, but you can't take a 3 anymore. So you're taking away the biggest weapon that Steph Curry has. The biggest weapon the Mets have is Steve Cohen's pocketbook. And it seems like David Stearns, well, let's not spend this. Let's not spend this. I think you should let him spend. If he could spend $400 million, he's willing to do it, then do it. And you can't be a Milwaukee GM in New York. He is not Mark Attanasio. Steve Cohen's one of the richest men in the world. Let him be Steve Cohen.
Mike, my suspicion is we're going to have a lot of New York baseball news over the next 5, 6 weeks, certainly before the beginning of the season. We need to get you past Russo anyway, on the all-time list. We understand the competitiveness of this, and I know how John wants to get Russo back on so badly anyway. So I'm going to get you back on at some point. And
Well,
of
wait,
course,
1 minute though. I don't want like accumulated views. I need the each show's views to beat Russo because I think I've been on more than Russo.
I would think so, right?
Yes, you have. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think Russo has just been on with me, and you're the most popular with both of us, so you're on with both of us. You are on more frequently. I think you should go cumulative because
No, no
willingness
way.
to
Oh.
you're tough. You're like the Yankees with the high standards.
Hey, you know
You're,
what,
you're
Joe? I got to let you in on a little secret, and we all three of us know each other about 40 years. Heyman is such a weasel. He actually updates me on numbers and when I'm on the show because he knows that I'm a sick human being and I'm ultra competitive. And he tells me, "Oh, Russo just beat you out," knowing that I want to come back on and beat out Russo. This is what this guy does behind the scenes.
I'm
Yeah.
just giving you updates. I know you're an analytics guy and you like to see the numbers. And when you're ahead, I still will give you the numbers either way. But and I also thought I was complimenting you that you're in the top two. I thought, but you're right. I kind of knew that you don't like being second. You're not an Avis kind of guy, and you want to be first. It
Mike,
is close. It is close. I'm going to review the numbers and get back to you. Just analytically speaking, not to spur you on to keep coming on, but we appreciate your attendance. You are
I'm
the
also, I
of
mean,
the
you're
show.
saying I'm analytically. I mean, if David Stearns is analytic, I'm Gabe Paul. So let's relax with the analytic stuff.
Oh,
maybe Mike, maybe you're Aaron Boone. You're just constantly in the playoffs every year. You're good. It's hard to win a championship.
You know what? Having a job for 9 years is a good thing in this economy.
Yeah. Mike, you're the best. We love having you on. Thanks so much.
You got it, guys. Be good.
John and I, of course, thank our friend Michael Kay for joining us on the show. John Ferrer.
I'm going to do a hit. I've complimented the Blue Jays a million times. I think the Orioles deserve equal time. They've done a terrific job. Alonso, obviously the headliner. The owners kind of compared it to the Frank Robinson trade exactly 60 years ago. Might not be quite that, but it's certainly something to celebrate in Baltimore for a small market team. And they look much better. They're still working. I think they'll get another starter, and they are a threat. I mean, I like to see teams trying, and that's a team that is trying.
Yeah, right-hand power is very hard to find in the sport, and not just Alonso. To bring in Taylor Ward, who hit about 35 homers last year also. I think they brought in two of the top six right-hand homer hitters from last season to their otherwise pretty still young lineup. John, I'm gonna give another team that's trying, and I think is more likely to lose 100 than even win 80, and they're not going to make the playoffs. But I like the offseason of the White Sox. I think that if like if I'm running the White Sox and I've lost 324 games the last 3 years, which is tied for the third most in the history of the game. Zach Littell, like, is a fine major league pitcher. I don't think it moves the needle for you if you do that. I would go for guys who have real upside and they might have the real downside. Now, Murakami to some degree fell into their lap because other teams were still we're still talking about it on this show, right? Still talking about Bellinger and Tucker and Bichette, etc. And they weren't ready to do it in the 45-day window. There were trade stuff that was out there, Alonso, Schwarber, stuff like that did get done. And Murakami fell in their lap for 2 years. He might not be able to hit fastballs in the major leagues. There's questions about swing and miss in the zone. There's question about velocity. But like, if he hits, you have a version of Kyle Schwarber for 2 years, which means you either have it or could trade it for more chips. I think Anthony Kay is a good gamble coming back from Japan, where he pitched really, really well, especially last year. Of the 2 years he was there, there's pedigree. He was a first-round draft choice. He added 3 miles per hour. He added a sinker that brought soft contact. I just think this is the way to go because either they succeed for you, you can trade them, or if worse comes to worse, it didn't break the bank, it didn't block any prospects, and they're both done in 2 years. I think it's the kind of thing a team in their situation should be doing.
Yeah, good for the White Sox. I think they've done a good job. It'll be interesting to see whether that, I don't know if that'll trigger the Cubs, but the Cubs have been linked to everybody. They haven't done anything. And I think people in Chicago right now, they're kind of distracted by the Bears, and excited by the Bears. But the Cubs are a good team that has a chance. And to me, they had the greatest disparity between revenue and payroll of any team. And again, they're not haven't spent. Now, I heard they would finish second for Cease, so they are trying somewhat, but if you don't really go for a guy, you'll often finish second or third, as Andrew Friedman once said. But they're in on Suarez, they're in on Gallen, they're in on Bichette, they're in on Bregman. I don't know. Are they still in on Tucker? I don't think Tucker's going back for whatever reason. Didn't work there, and it's a lot of money for the Cubs. They don't spend that kind of money, but the White Sox did well enough that it's time the Cubs at least try to match them and spend as much as the White Sox. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, pretty sad. On the pleasant side, we haven't let him get into free agency. Tommy Hogan, our producer, always so great. I know he was helping to steer the ship, especially when I was gone. Tommy, I always appreciate everything you do. I know John does as well. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, please rate and review us. The New York Post YouTube page, give us a view. Certainly helps the show. If you like the show, there are ways to support it like that. Please do. And we're getting close to spring training. We're off and running. I hope you stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman.